20% are women are involved in sport as compared to 80% of men. How do you correct?
Well, I think it's to encourage more women to jump on this, and it's to make sure that you tell the men to realize that those women bring a lot to the table, right? To not think in terms of certain constraints that might be there, but to think in terms of the opportunities. I don't think there's any reason why a female CEO of a sports company can't do just as good a job as a male CEO of a sports company, and so it's about time that would be that those opportunities are divided equally, just as it's about time that as much money goes to female athletes as money goes to male athletes.
Fundamental of business, you spoke on that, especially in sports. You want to elaborate on that?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
The fundamentals of business. You mentioned sports as well, saying that it's also a business. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so for me, I had to look at you, right? So for me, sorry about that. So for me, if you think about sports business, part of understanding sports business is just understanding business. There's a bunch of things that are just the same fundamentals as you see in other businesses. It's about understanding cost and revenues and all the kinds of things that we teach at the Harvard Business School. But it's also, it has to go beyond that. It's not just your average industry. So it's also about realizing that there are very unique aspects to the business of sports, that this is about managing talents and managing teams of talents, that this is about understanding very often a strong, like a really large multitude of stakeholders, right? That this is about working with fans, working with the media, working with sponsors, and you don't see that complexity in lots of other sectors.
And Professor, please tell us about the study that you conducted was to maybe just elaborate on the findings on women being able to assess now.
So I'm not sure if I conducted that kind of study. I don't know which one you're referring to.
You spoke about a research study that was conducted earlier. I'm not sure during when you were addressing us earlier.
Oh, so I don't know if I conducted, so I conduct case studies on athletes, male and female athletes. And so my goal is to try to show the students at Harvard how the business of sports works. And so that involves understanding, say, how a club like Real Madrid or FC Barcelona functions, but it's also about showing how someone like a David Beckham or Francis Ngannou can make the most of their abilities as an athlete, or on the case of David Beckham as a former athlete. So I've been trying to develop as many case studies as possible on very different stakeholders in the world of sports.
I want your opinion on this.
It's very weird to be looking at you while I'm answering your question. I actually have to deliberately tell myself, look at him. But your face is very good. Yeah.
It's not really a question. I just want your opinion when it comes to sport in general. When it comes to sport for men, we hardly talk about maybe if they're really the actual men. But when it comes to women, there will be conversation around race. Are they really women's sexuality? All of that. The conversation is never really about women getting more paid. It's always about certain things instead of focusing on women getting more women in sport or women getting paid. I just want your opinion on that.
I mean, I think as a woman, we're used to people coming up with all kinds of crazy arguments about why we do what we do and why we shouldn't do what we do. And so I think you see that reflected in sports as well. Those arguments will die down if we see really great performances from women, and if I think we start to see more and more that female sports can be just as successful and just as lucrative as the male side of things. So I think those phases I think we're always going to have to go through. But I think we're well positioned to not only be equal with the men, but then take over from the men entirely, and then you guys can all retire, and we'll run the world from then on.
If I may just come in here, probably might have answered this before I walked in. I'm just looking at your stature in terms of your credentials and everything. I took some time to go through your biography and stuff. I'm looking at
You
how
say it like it's this really long document, but it's only like 2 paragraphs.
Wow.
But yes.
It's okay. It's
Thank
okay.
you, thank you.
I'm looking at Africa. I mean, it's always been known as a dark continent where females are not actually taken serious. Just to follow up on what you just said, but with us here in South Africa, women in sport, in terms of ownership, it's not as much as in other continents and other countries. What do you think it would take for Africa to match up and catch up and live up to what the world is at in terms of empowering women? And what does it mean for you to be part of this campaign where Momentum says, let's empower women irrespective of race, color, creed, or even whatever that may pull them down?
Would you want me to look to you or to him again?
Okay, look at it.
So I'm not sure if the gap is bigger here than it is in the US and say Europe. I think we see the exact same problems there. And we haven't figured it out in the United States either, right? There's a huge gap there between what male athletes and female athletes make, between the exposure that they get on television, between everything, so the businesses that are being built around them. You have a few superstars who are maybe making the same money that those male superstars are, but those examples are few and far between. And the exact same thing is the case for Europe. European football is very strong, and I think we have some of the best teams in the world playing female soccer, but the money that goes around that flows into women's soccer in Europe is still a far cry from what we see on the male side. So I wouldn't say that Africa lags behind or South Africa lags behind. I think the same problems you see across the world, but I think it's fantastic that Momentum says we're going to try to lessen that gap and really work to enhance the role of women in sports.
Can I look at you and say you own your success?
That I own my success? I think I own my success, yes.
Based on?
Based on what? What do you mean with that question? Based
I mean, I'm just looking, I'm still on your profile, by the way, but I'm just saying that women, outspoken women, well-accredited women like yourself, are far and few, if I may say. And just like we've always been accustomed to, most women own their success in public eye, but on hindsight, there's that thing of saying, you're a woman, you cannot go into the store. You're a woman, you cannot do this. Remembering that we're still in Africa and women are always second. So in terms of the global stage that you play at, do you think you're really, really one of those that can stand out and say, it's a lighthearted question, by the way, that you own your success?
Yes, I mean it's easier if you walk into a room and they know that you're a Harvard Business School professor. Somehow I think gender goes out the window really fast and they just think that you're really smart even though you might not be. So it's become easier for me ever since I became a professor at the Harvard Business School to say I just own what I do and I own my success. But I've also felt that because I am in that position that now is my time to try to create that position for others, which is part of the reason why I launched this course for professional athletes at the Harvard Business School. And we made it free of charge for a reason, right? We want to open that up to everyone involved. So I personally, I wrote all those papers and I wrote all those cases. So I think I can say that I'm responsible for my own success. And I hope more women say the same.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Yo, my arm. Yes.